Welcome to Awakened Titans podcast with Lily Patrascu, mind-blowing conversations with influential business titans sharing how you can manifest abundance, love, joy, success through quantum awakening, quantum manifestation, quantum healing, quantum miracles, exponential business growth, and innovative products and services. Discover how to become a win-win communicator and lead with authenticity in this podcast with Alex Dumas. Alex Dumas is a sought-after international speaker, best-selling author, and coach. And he is the go-to expert for leadership, communication, and mindset. Since 2018, he has trained hundreds of corporate leaders and entrepreneurs to become win-win communicators. So thank you so much for coming on this podcast, Alex. And please share with us, what's the secret to your success?
Hey, Lily, thank you so much for inviting me to this program. And the secret for my success, honestly, has been allowing myself to be present in the moment, right? Where I've fallen short plenty of times in the past has come from me not really being connected to other people, maybe isolating myself, distancing myself, trying to figure things out on my own. And as a leader, whether it's at home, in the boardroom, wherever, it's hard to do things on our own. It's hard to succeed without the talents, the gifts, the abilities of others. And when I speak from the stage, when I share my message with crowds and audiences, I talk about building a bigger bubble, right? It's a fun little playful thing, but the psychology behind it is to expand, to grow, to craft a big dream, to make a big vision come true, to come to light, is going to take a whole village. It's going to take a lot of people around, right? I believe there's no real self-made person, quote unquote. So my success has been a byproduct of allowing other people to thrive, creating spaces for them to show up as their best selves. And it's supported me, not exploit them, not manipulate, not use or anything, but leverage their collective brilliance. And I get to add my best skills to whatever project or team I'm working on. So that's me in a nutshell as far as how I've succeeded so far.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad you shared that about being self-made. I also don't believe there's anyone who's technically self-made. I mean, your mother made you, and then after that, she had to support you at least until you're 18. And after that, you had to be supported by your team in order to succeed. I mean, I don't even know why people even say that this person is self-made. There's really no such thing, and I'm so glad you said that. And this brings me to what entrepreneurs need to do in order to become a win-win communicator and lead with authenticity.
Yeah, I would say the first step is really being authentic with themselves. And I talk about connection a lot because the more that I'm connected to myself, the more that I value who I am and what I bring to the table and what serves me, that actually allows me to help other people. I was talking with a client the other day about this idea of being selfish, and they were having some challenges with they're rising up in their profession. They're starting to ascend and starting to create a little bit of distance from people who know them, like, hey, no, you should hang out with us, or you should spend some time with us. Like, well, that doesn't really serve me, doesn't serve my vision of where I'm going. It doesn't actually contribute to what I'm doing. And not to say that this person is better than the other ones, right? You burn bridges and you leave people in the dust, but also recognizing the boundary of what I'm trying to create right now is massive global impact. So that's going to require me to say no to a lot of things, right? And that only comes from me being connected to myself. Of, am I coming from a place of people pleasing? Am I coming from a place of doing something just because I quote unquote have to, I should be doing this? Or is it the things that you want to do? Is it stuff that you're enthusiastic about? Are they the things that light you up and that you can bring your best self to? So that's one of my tools, right? It's just coming back to connection. Am I connected to myself? Am I talking to myself the right way? Am I feeding myself the the value and empowering beliefs and resources that are going to nurture me, right? It's no different from trying to plant a garden, right? If I'm planting something and if I don't water it, I don't give it enough sunlight, it's gonna die. So connection for me is that water. Connection for me is that sunlight. Connection for me is what gets down to the root so I can enjoy the fruit of my labor.
I'm so glad you said that. Now, how can we discover what we truly desire and lead with authenticity? The reason I say this is because sometimes you started out in a business that perhaps initially you disliked, and you've been doing it for so long, you know what you're doing, you have the expertise, you go through the motions, but somehow it doesn't fill you up. It doesn't fill your cup. It feels like something is missing. But still, it's sometimes so hard to differentiate what you love, what is truly you, from what you're used to doing. So how do you kind of find out again, okay, what lights me up? What brings me joy? What is me authentically?
Yeah, that's a great question. For me, I had this question answered from at the start of 2014. Well, toward the end of 2014, it was my first venture into entrepreneurship. I was building a financial services practice out in New York. I'm from New York originally, and what I connected to was, hey, this is an opportunity to make some fast money. I could make a lot of money, right? In the financial world, that's, if you want to make some money, that you go where the money is. And within a few months, I recognized the challenge because it was getting licenses for insurance, doing what we call kitchen table presentations. So I was going all over this, the tri-state, going into Brooklyn, Queens. I'm from Long Island, living in Long Island, going into Manhattan. And a lot of the times I'm on my way to these appointments thinking, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? Like, I'm not really excited about it. I'm passionate about helping people. And I love the crusade of the company about educating people, giving them financial literacy, this and that. So I was in there and I felt trapped for a bit, and also experienced a lot of challenges the following year in 2015. My son was born. 3 days after that, my mother passed. 90 days after that, I was fired from a job. So now I went full time in the financial business, crashed and burned as I'm grieving. I'm dealing with, being a two-time father now. We had a toddler at the time. Oh, not a toddler, but she was like 4 years old at the time. So I got my 4-year-old daughter, my newborn son, no job, this business that I don't love, that's frustrated me. Fast forward to 2016, where I decided to go back to corporate, and it's through this quote unquote setback, right? I kind of tucked my tail in. I was not thrilled about going back to regular W-2 type of work, but that actually wound up being the best thing for me, because I have this passion to help people. I have this passion to serve. And this particular job was a sales role, and it introduced me to the world of professional speaking, of coaching, of digital marketing. And as soon as I was able to go to these conferences and communicate with these types of entrepreneurs, the light bulb just turned on for me. I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to learn how to do this. So for you watching, you listening, right, wherever you are right now in your journey, understand that nothing is wasted, right? I could look at that time from 2014 to 2016, 2017 and be like, man, I wasted my time in this business. I spent so much energy. I did so much and didn't get the full payout that I wanted. But I got a great experience. I got introduced to personal development. I got introduced to, it set me up for this next phase of my life's work now, not my work-life balance, my life's work with coaching, with speaking, with mentoring people. And it was all meant to happen.
Wow. I loved that you said that. And I noticed on your website that you had a paragraph about what you want to know about me, and also what you don't want to know about me. And I think a lot of us, if not say all of us, have insecurities, vulnerabilities, things we dislike sharing because it makes us feel ashamed. And but that is also a big part of our authenticity. And we do our best to kind of not wash our laundry in public, not share all these different things that makes us feel ashamed. So my question is, how do you make a peace between, okay, there's also these things that I'm ashamed about, that my insecurities, my fears, my failures, my things, businesses that perhaps I failed, or how do you make this peace between that and leading with authenticity?
Yeah, that's a great question, Lily. The first thing that comes to my mind is this path of forgiveness. And for someone watching, they could be like, oh my goodness, here we go. This is the woo woo stuff. This is the fluff. But this is what I have experienced as a real thing of learning to make peace with that and recognizing the power of words. I say this a lot. Words matter, and words create, and they can destroy. And just think about it right now. Lily, you and I are speaking right now. At some point during the past 24 hours, you probably slept, right? You probably went to bed and dozed off for a bit. That's an activity, right? I'm not going to label you, Lily, as a sleeper. Man, you sleep. You're a sleeper type of person. If I fail at something, quote unquote, that doesn't make me a failure. I have learned to forgive myself for what I didn't know, what I could have done better. There's plenty I could have done, but I want to remove these types of words that disempower, that weaken me, right? Like should, that I'm supposed to do. I ought to be further along. I should have been doing this. I could have been doing this. These are things that don't allow ourselves to propel, right? What I would say is my language before I found coaching, my questions, my thoughts would sound like this. Why is this happening to me? Why can't I have this? Why is life like this? And that puts me in a position of there's lack. Because I don't have this, then it means that there's something wrong with me. There's something defective, deficient about me. And I started to see through coaching, through mentoring, through support, through personal development, I can ask myself a lot stronger questions. Questions like, what do I want to create from this opportunity? What's the goal in what this person is sharing with me, whether it's feedback, constructive criticism, whatever it is. What can I use from this? What can I leverage? Who's available to help me? That's a big one. So that has allowed me to show up authentic, because I don't need to have a filter of I'm not good enough. I suck. I should have known better. I should have been smarter than this. I shouldn't have trusted this person. Right? All these things. What can I do about it? I can either choose to own up to it, take responsibility for who I am and what I do, or I can put it in the hands of other people's and let them create the narrative for my life, right? Instead of me being an author, I get to be an automatic as default of, well, this is how it is. This is how it's always going to be. I'm always a failure. I never succeed. I'm a sleeper, right? Just going back to that little funny example, like I go to bed at night, I sleep. Now I'm a label a sleeper. Like remove that label, remove that word from what it is. It's just an activity, right? And that goes for success too. Right. I say this a lot, that we can never get too high on the highs. We never get too low on the lows. Reality is somewhere in the middle. And it's good to feel good about yourself and pump yourself up and speak to yourself with affirming words and declaring things, right? Not just affirmations, but really declaring who you are, but recognizing, hey, I'm not as good as I think I am. And if I can remain humble to being open to other people's perspectives, other people's ideas, their brilliance, right? Coming back to this bubble idea, drafting off of different people and pieces and be inspired and influenced by that. It serves me and it allows me to show up as my real self, as my authentic self, rather than kind of the weak, ho-hum, gee golly, like, I don't know if I should be saying this. Like, no, I show up bold, I show up how I am, and people either resonate with that or they don't, and that's fine either way.
I love what you said about that, because we have to curate our language. And when you find yourself saying something negative about yourself, you just bring yourself back on track. It's inevitable that we all think negative thoughts all of the time. So it's almost like an ongoing battle to try to curate that language and to eliminate, when that negative thought comes in, to kind of say, thank you for this thought, and, pass it along somewhere else, because I'm kind of shifting that into something more empowering. And what I found is that when you use empowering language about yourself in the worst possible situations, you can find something that is positive about your life. So even if you have no money and you have no, I don't know, husband or wife or partner, or you have no business partner, or whatever it is that you feel like you're missing, when you start to focus on the positive, and when you start to think about, okay, I have hands, I have legs, I can see, I'm smart, I have, parents who are still alive, or there's always something that you can find that is positive about yourself. And I think when you shift your thinking onto something positive, you attract more positive thinking, more positive situations, more positive opportunities, and then gradually you can go towards more exciting opportunities and change your life. Now, my question is, how can entrepreneurs avoid making mistakes when they want to become a win-win communicator?
Yeah, that's a great question. One thing I will share with them is that you're going to make plenty of mistakes. So buckle up for that ride. That is just part of the deal. But I see ways to reduce that or put yourself in better position to communicate better with others is, one, recognize where you're coming from, right? If I'm in a frenzy, or if I'm hurried, if I'm thinking about an email I'm supposed to send, and if I'm thinking about a conversation I'm supposed to have instead of being with you at this present moment, then I'm robbing you of the opportunity to really express yourself, and I'm robbing myself of the opportunity to understand you. The whole point of someone having an interaction or a conversation is, this is my opinion, right? This is not the Webster Dictionary of communication. But my point is, like, I want to get to know who you are, where you're coming from, your point of view, and hopefully you see mine. Doesn't mean that we agree. Doesn't mean that we're on the same page, kumbaya, all this lovely. But I would love to get a better understanding. I want to be able to walk away and say, hey, you know what? Lily's somebody who empowers people. Lily's somebody who values people's time. Lily is somebody who has created a platform to bring out the best in other people. I can understand that, rather than kind of showing up frenzy, like, all right, what's this thing about? What's this deal? Like, come on, get to the questions. Hurry up, wrap it up, and be a jerk. The mistakes that people make are thinking that they know it all. That's been a challenge of mine, right? It's the pride in us. I know better, and I might cut you off, and I might rob you of opportunity to share something that could be really brilliant, right? And this happens in when I was managing group homes, when I was in boardrooms, when I've worked with executives and corporate leaders. This stuff happens all the time. He doesn't listen to me. She doesn't get it, right? It's this finger pointing, and the fingers never come here. It's like, well, what was I doing? Where was I listening from? Where was I showing up in this conversation? Was I trying to bulldoze it and bulldog and just get what I wanted? Or was I really looking at this from a collaborative space of, they're bringing something really important to the table. This might be worth listening to. So those mistakes are, right, not being present, of not giving yourself space, right? This is something super vital in my world of coaching, and anybody else here who's watching. Just take a look at your calendar. Is your calendar like back to back to back? You're going from meeting to meeting, Zoom to Zoom, and you're not even giving yourself maybe a bio break. You're not even giving yourself a minute to just, oh, I need some water. Like, give yourself a moment to just refresh and reset yourself. Or are you carrying the old conversations, the old baggage into this new space? And my filter now, your filter is back here. What went wrong? What isn't right? What you need to fix? What you should have been doing? What you could have been doing? All these different things, instead of, oh, I'm right here. What's happening right in front of me? Receive, acknowledge, embrace it, and then figure out a way that it can benefit you and maybe potentially benefit that other person as well.
Thank you. Now, entrepreneurs tend to be divided in a few categories: givers, takers, and people who are kind of neutral in terms of they want a similar amount that they gave you to be returned back to them. And my question is, what is the best way to operate? Because, for example, for me, it's very easy for me to give, and it's very easy as well to people please, and I'm still struggling with that and struggling with boundaries. So what I find is that when you are a people pleaser, then I'm always looking for win-win opportunities. But what I find is that it's so easy for me to just people please, and then I run out of steam myself. So how do you balance this out in order to become a win-win collaborator, win-win communicator, and win-win leader?
Yeah, great question. And thank you for sharing that. And this is something that is, definitely on my heart too, right? I'm gonna raise my hand as far as where it comes to people pleasing and seeking that approval, right? I would say addiction approval is probably the strongest one in the world. It's stronger than any drug, any type of vice, and gambling, anything you could think of, because it's programmed into us from such a young age. We're programmed to seek the approval from our parents. Hey, like, do this and I will love you, even though it's supposed to be, it's right here I am using the language, supposed to be. A premise is unconditional love. But that's not really true, because when I first started walking, my parents probably were like, "Oh my God, Alex is walking. This is so incredible. Like, oh my God," to celebrate. And as I get a little bit older, I'm walking, I'm running. It's like, "Hey, can you slow down? Can you stop running all over the place?" Right? It becomes that, like, wait a minute, you were celebrating me. Now I'm being chastised and criticized. When it comes to giving, what I would say, it comes back to like this internal temperature check of where am I coming from cease to give? Am I giving because I'm excited about helping this person? Am I giving because it's a genuine thing? I feel good about it. I don't expect anything back from it. Because there's sometimes there can be things we call loaded gives. Hey, Lily, I'm going to do this favor for you, but I'm going to come back to collect, right? Hey, remember the time I did that for you, and now it's time to pay up. Like, wait a minute, right? That's gross. So when we're given, I invite you to look at, where am I coming from? Am I coming from a place of giving because I don't want to be an outsider? I don't want to break social rule. I don't want to appear selfish and rude for your business, for your life. And I'm learning this as well. It's okay to say no. No is a complete sentence. No is simply your way of being like, this doesn't serve me. And that's tough. That's part of why I named my chapter in an upcoming book, Everybody Wins, including me. Because for many years I would champion, like, everybody wins, you, yes, I want you to win. I'm your cheerleader. I'm go, and given. And I would forget that I'm a part of everybody. Like, oh, hey, genius, you get to win too. You get to experience the beauty. You get to enjoy the spoils. You get to experience all of this just like everybody else. So I've constantly reminded myself, everybody wins, including me. So as I give, I'm also looking for the opportunities that are going to serve me, right? We're having this conversation right now. I love talking to you. You have a great platform. And here's the end. And I recognize this is going to help me get exposure to new people. This is going to help me just continue to practice and say my words and speak my truth into the space. So it's a mutually beneficial thing. So I'm giving my time and we're exchanging this, but I'm also recognizing, like, hey, there's something in it for me too, right? And that could sound like dirty to some people, but listen, this is what it is. If I'm investing my time somewhere, if I'm investing in a conversation with somebody, I also want to walk away feeling, experiencing something good for myself too. Something wrong with that.
Thank you. Now, what I find is that in order to create a win-win collaboration and win-win communication, I find that the best way to start is to give first. And the reason for that is because that's when you are opening almost like a channel of communication, when you give first. Okay. And when you give without expecting anything in return, I feel that it's almost like you're opening this channel of love and acceptance. And because a lot of times, you start collaborations with people you don't know. You don't always start collaborations with people you do know, right? So, I mean, I do this all day long, where I'm meeting new people, and then I'm impressed with their work, and then I start referring them hundreds of people. And then you could think, okay, you know what, you should wait a bit. You should like be more cautious. You should start, doing certain things to kind of see whether they are going to, give something first or whatever. And I don't. The reason I don't is because, first, I believe I trust in my intuition. Second, I think it's just great to start this path, this channel of love and giving, and really not expecting anything in return. And I find that that channel of giving can be anything. It doesn't have to be necessarily something you do in business. It can be even when you are let's say you are living in this building, and then you say hello to the concierge, and you're kind to them, and you smile, and you make a joke, you make them feel good, you compliment them on something that they are wearing, whether it's nice glasses or something really nice they're wearing, and you are sincere in your compliment. And I feel that that's when you also start a win-win communication. And the reason why this works is that sometimes you stay in a hotel, okay, and then just because everyone else is just passing by and not saying anything to the concierge, and then because you are really nice, it can happen that I don't know, at some point you will find that you're just bringing more positivity to your life. And I find that you don't necessarily always get something in return, right? But the fact that you're not expecting it makes it makes it more exciting. The fact that you're just like giving a compliment, or you're just being kind to someone, or even, let's say, you are going to the metro, or you're coming out of your building, and then someone comes with a pushchair, and you're helping, and you're kind, and you're smiling. Even that, I feel that it starts to create this win-win collaboration, or win-win communication, where perhaps it could be later in the day, later in a few years, something positive happens to you because you were that person who opened this channel of giving and kindness and love and joy first. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%. Right. We're all connected at the end of the day. And these things happen in my life all the time, right? And just going back to that example with the concierge, right? You might be the one person that potentially has acknowledged them, has even looked them in the eye, even maybe said their name, right? They have the name badges on there. My kids make fun of me all the time when I'm in supermarkets and we're at the cashier, and they're like, I'll be like, hey, thank you, such as, so-and-so. And they're like, right? It's different when someone hears their name, right? You've actually taken a second to acknowledge who they are. They're not just another brick in the wall, and they have probably hundreds of interactions every day, but you might be the one person who's brightening up their day, and they might come back home. Hey, just come back to the bubble now. They might come back, oh my goodness, wow, somebody, like, how was your day? Wow, this nice gentleman, this nice woman, they said such great things about me. And they're coming back home energized, right? And that transfers over to their spouse, partner, potentially their kids, to other people in the work environment, right? So it's these little acts of kindness, right, that you don't do for the credit either, right? I don't go and say, hey, you're a nice person. Now let's take a selfie, and I can blast it all over the world. Like, see how kind I am? Sometimes that's okay, but for the most part, I'd rather just be with that person, kind of learn their story a little bit, and then move on. And it goes with human kindness. I say this, service never goes out of style, right? So are we doing this for real purpose, or are we doing this for a real commitment to helping somebody? Or is this kind of like a checkbox, like, oh, I better do this and help out because someone's watching, maybe the God, universe, spirit, source, Gus is out there judging me. It's like, no, we're here to help each other. We're all on this float and rock together, and we're all have to find a way to make life easier. I mean, at the end of the day, I have to assume, Lily, that you kind of want the same things that I want. You want to have a fun life. You want to enjoy your health. You want to have great conversations with people and have wonderful adventures and experiences. Right? Most people want that of, hey, I want to just go home and feel good at night and feel fulfilled about what I'm doing. And if I can be a small part of that, whether it's through a smile, whether it's through an actual verbal acknowledgement, whether that's just through saying their name and being kind, that's my contribution.
Yes, I love that you said that. And something I do that I think is, and I do that actually just to bring a smile to their face. Okay. So sometimes they say, when I pass by the concierge, I tell them something like, you're the most smiley person I saw today, or you're the most attractive person in this lobby, and they're the only one there. You know, it's just, or sometimes I go to the restaurant and I say, I'm going to pay with Tesco vouchers. And that doesn't even exist. I mean, you cannot pay with Tesco vouchers in a restaurant, but I just do that to puzzle them for a second, because, you know, I think they're bored. And that brings a smile to their face. And then, and sometimes I go to the restaurant, I say, I'm going to pay in installments. And I say it with a serious face because I want to bring a smile to their face. And I do that because I find that sometimes all you need is a little smile, a little act of kindness in order to totally transform your life. And I think the opposite works as well in the negative way. So I think the reason why so many people are desperate, or they have they're depressed, or they're not feeling great, or they commit certain acts, and it's because they are led to desperation by certain things that people do. And sometimes it's something really small. It's an accumulation of certain things. And if we can all do a little tiny act of kindness, then it can really lead to a great thing. And I find that in certain cases, I've received as well acts of kindness that I totally did not expect from completely random people. And it has taken me by surprise in a positive way, and taken me out of a jam sometimes as well. And I feel that, if you've had a really bad day, maybe your boss shouted at you, or your client shouted at you, and then you come in and then you give them a compliment, or you help them with something small. It can just make that little difference between wanting to live and, wanting to continue with the work, a certain job, or, and then not. Okay, so I feel that we have a responsibility to become win-win communicators. We have a responsibility and a commitment to elevate our own frequency and to be happier ourselves. Because I read in this article that our own frequency, like how happy we are, can impact people on a really large space around us, like a really, I can't remember if it was like 1 mile radius or something ridiculous like that. So basically, you in your house being happy can impact like your entire neighborhood, in terms of it can elevate their frequency and how happy they feel or not. So that means that you have a commitment to the world to be happier yourself and to communicate in a positive way, in a kind way. Because if you do, then you can make a massive difference to the world as a win-win communicator. Now, what's your message to the world?
Wow. I mean, you broke it down in a beautiful way. And one of the key words there is the commitment. It's the commitment to excellence, not to perform, not to receive accolades and the credit, but a commitment from within of, this is the way that I treat people, whether somebody's watching me or not, whether somebody's videotaping and filming and I'm going viral for an act of kindness. When I go to restaurants, one of my favorite things to do is leave thank you notes. I bring a thank you card, and I'm looking for that server they don't have to wow me, right? I mean, I do love exceptional service. So if you're a server out there, just know I love service. But I'm looking out for how they interact with other people. I'm watching them. I'm really paying attention, and then I'll throw down something that's in a personal note along with whatever tip I'm leaving. My message for the world, you said it with this radius, right? Coming back to this visual description of mine, right? Building a bigger bubble, right? It starts with you at the epicenter, and then your inner circle of friends, family, then outwards to the community, your neighborhood, then schools, colleagues through Zoom, if you're in different online forums and communities, how you're treating yourself, how you're talking to yourself, how you are committed to your own happiness and fulfillment. That's going to spill over. Like, man, Lily is a bubbly, vibrant person. People want to be around that for the most part, right? There's a real select few that are like, nah, she's smiling. Why are you smiling? Right? But you're only going to meet a few kind of nasty people in the world. For the most part, people like other people who are up to something big, that are energetic, that are moving in a direction, going that north compass, that are heading somewhere, versus kind of same old. How's it going? Oh, it's just regular old day, right? Our words matter. So if I'm thinking about building a bubble, if I'm thinking about expanding, if I'm thinking about having a big dream and a big vision that other people can see themselves inside of and rally around and champion as well, that we're all winning together. Like everybody wins, including me. This is where we start.
Wow, I love that. Everybody wins, including me.
That's right.
Stay tuned for the next episode.